All right. Hello, hello, everybody. I are live now. Yep. There goes the notification on YouTube. All we need to do is make sure that you have the link available to you, and also that I sign out of my personal instant message thing so we're not getting bothered by other students all the time. Those students asking questions, I tell you what. Okay, let's get the link. It's always a little bit awkward when I do this live here. Now, I apologize if you're watching later. You're gonna have to deal with this background here, and while I fiddle around and try to get the live link here for everybody. Okay. Right here is the super special live link. Let's make sure it is posted onto Blackboard announcements and sent to everyone. First class session broadcast link to the broadcast. Ooh, remember you can watch this. Use this link to watch this. Ooh. Anytime in the future as well. See you Thursday. Cannot spell today. Probably all kinds of errors on the syllabus. Yay! Alright, the first class session broadcast link has been posted, so the place should start filling up pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and get out of there. Alright. Let's go ahead and switch back to play. Okay, let's look at the syllabus. So what we're really doing today is just kind of going over the syllabus for the course. We are not really going to tackle any content today. I know that traditionally Tuesday, Thursday classes are like 75 minutes long. But because I'm going to be absent here while I take care of my wife until things settle down here and her mom can come give her the day-to-day care that she needs, I will be well, I'll be doing this. But anyway, what I'm trying to work up to here is we're probably only going to be like maybe a 30 to 40 minute video or broadcast, and then I'll turn it off. And we'll actually get into probably the detail of the schedule and actual content on Thursday. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. So again, this is I am Dallas Pike, your secondary education. See, I'm reading my own syllabus. I'm still a little bit a little bit tired. I'm Dallas Pike, and I am your instructor for argumentation and debate. Um, it's required that we put our like educational level stuff up here, but the thing that you should really know is that I have been involved in debate, academic debate, since the year 2000. And I've been coaching really a debate in some form or another since 2004. So I like to know that I like to think that I know what I'm doing. I'm also one of the coaches on the Ball State debate team, which is an organization open to literally everybody. No, we don't have any like tryouts or anything. So any of you are welcome to come to our first meeting next Monday at 5 p.m. at Letterman Building 108 if you want to well, basically do what we do in class for an extracurricular activity, but you also get to travel and win awards and have, like, a good fun time. Not this class is not fun, but, we don't get to go to, Japanese steakhouses in Seattle as part of our coursework for the classroom. Anyway, this is my contact information here. You can read it in your own time. I do offer Skype office sessions if for whatever reason, you can't meet. I've noticed that there's been an uptick of students that are like, well, I'm only available at like 9 p.m. after classes. Their schedule's full of work and other courses, and so rather than try to, we live in a different age now. Professors probably should not meet a student in his office at 9 p.m. So if you're one of those people that's only available in the late evenings, I will still meet with you, but we'll meet over Skype. So that's how you can get in contact with me there. Of course, it's always helpful that I know if you're going to call my Skype, but generally speaking, I'm logged into Skype when I can talk. So there's no harm in just adding me to your Skype and giving me a call anyway. Um, Speaking of calling, this phone, um, during office hours, I will definitely receive your call. If it's outside of office hours, there's a nice little system now where you can leave a voicemail and it will send the actual like audio file to my email, and I will be able to listen to it on my, let's say, my personal cell phone. It will still be much slower, of course, than being able to reach me live, but I will still be able to hear your message, so that's another way you can get in contact with me. Um, Tuesday, Thursday is kind of an awkward day for me in terms of office hours. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, technically Monday, Wednesday, I've committed to being there, at campus basically all day. I actually show up about 9:30 a.m., but I teach at 10. Um, but anytime after 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday, you can hear the dog barking in there as things are going going on. Um, it's a busy day. Anyway, so I'm basically here all day on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Generally on Friday, I have that other part of my job where I coach debate. Um, and I will probably, because of the way the classes work, I have a class at 2 to 3 on Fridays. Because we'll be traveling with the debate team, I usually leave with a group of students around 3:30 or 4 o'clock to go to our tournament that weekend. So I wouldn't plan on meeting me on a Friday afternoon unless it happens to be like a Friday where we're not actually scheduled to go anywhere. And of course, as we talk about scheduling, we'll get more into that. I think I started this sentence with the word Tuesday and Thursday are awkward. The reason why is because that's actually when I schedule my individual appointments for coaching the debate team. So I don't really have like a set schedule except for you guys in my Tuesday Thursday class session. Um, so you are my regular meeting, and I show up about an hour before class, and I'll stay for about an hour after class, pretty much guaranteed. But again, throughout the day, I might be out of my office meeting with individual students or um, doing something kind of like that. I'm in which I'm around, but not in any kind of like formal capacity for like just walking in and talking to a professor type purposes. But I will always be available about an hour before and about an hour after class. Even though the rest of Tuesday and Thursday is just I'm going to be everywhere. Going to the library with students or doing maybe even going to a tournament early or what have you. So in any case, the course is really about a couple of things. Our objectives for the course are basically to help improve your argumentation and debate skills. Um, we do that through a couple of really explicit objectives here. If you took Comm 210, which I hope all of you should have had that's listed as a prerequisite. Even if you transferred, you should have had a public speaking course of some variety before coming here. And you probably did learn about the Toulmin model of argument, which is a three-step model for creating persuasive arguments. And we're going to review that, but we're also going to get into way more detail about how do you make sure that those arguments are cogent? In other words, how do you make sure those arguments make sense, avoid fallacies, and can hold up to scrutiny? Because one of the things that we do in debate, of course, is that you refute arguments as well, which means that you're not just going to give an 8-minute speech and then sit down. You're going to give actually like a 4-minute speech, and then someone's going to get right up after you and explain for another 4 minutes why maybe you are not correct. All right. So we're talking about how to do that within the Toulmin model. We're going to create and present sound arguments, of course. We also there is a research component to the projects in this course, so we'll be using the library resources and technology for that. You need to understand valid and invalid forms of reasoning. Unlike perhaps your public speaking course, this idea is going to be peppered throughout every unit. Each form of debate that we study has it kind of prompts you to go on different types of reasoning. And of course, there's the basic stuff like syllogism and inductive / deductive reasoning and stuff that we'll cover. But there's just way more forms of reasoning and logic to try to link points together. fact, on Wednesday we're going to talk about what we call entamemes, which are arguments or statements whose assumptions are not declared, and how we can go about figuring out what those assumptions are. So that's just kind of a preview that we're going to get into some stuff that's not just ad hominem, or just the two types of reasoning you've probably had before. We're going to get into different types of stuff, and how you can structure arguments together to create a pattern of reasoning that you can lead a person on and help persuade them. You're going to develop teamwork skills as well. Now, this is usually where, if we were in person, face to face, I would see a few faces, rolling of the eyes. You will work with a partner for each project. All right, so it could be the same person if you're getting along pretty well, and the situation demands it. But a lot of people end up changing their partners from project to project. And that's okay, not because of personality conflict or anything, but simply because I need to change your partner for whatever reason, because so and so is available to debate on what day, and then the other person's going on I don't know, a band competition that's recognized by the university on the other debate day, so your schedules no longer match up for the final debate, and now you just got to work with different people. In any case, you will be working with a partner for each debate project, and believe me, it is far better to work with one other person for these debate projects. In you're debating, you've got to listen to what your opponents are saying. You've got to keep in mind what you're saying. You've got to find your research and put it into an order that makes sense. And it's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of thinking to do. And maybe it seems like a 5 or 6 minute speech is like a long time. It's actually very short, especially when you're the person that's listening, knowing that you're going to be speaking next. It'll just fly by. And having someone there to help you find your research, to double check whether or not it seems like you're in a good spot in terms of what order you want to tackle things in, and so on, it does help a lot. Now, I know that in every teamwork environment, there's a couple people that get unlucky with their partners, and maybe a couple people that get luckier than they should be. But that's also why I like to shake things up between debate projects, give people different partners. Especially for the first debate project, I will more or less be pairing you together randomly. I mean, unless you have like a strong preference as someone that you want to work with, and they reciprocate that preference, then I'll put you together, of course. But otherwise, I need pairs of people, so boop, I'm gonna put two people together, and that's gonna be how that works. More effectively, use critical thinking and problem solving skills. One of the cooler projects we do over the semester is that we'll have a policy topic. Last year we did the United States federal government should crack down on illegal immigration. And you get to create a policy or draft an actual policy plan to eliminate a problem related to that topic. And just for the record, none of my students did the let's separate families at the border type thing. So, um, I know I just had to say that, I think. Nonetheless, we do tackle topics as well that are, this is going to be here elsewhere on the syllabus as well, but we tackle topics that are current and controversial. They are not. I mean, as for like an example debate, we might do like, is Coke better than Pepsi? And then we try to talk about, how do you come up with a standard for deciding what best is, and so on and so forth. But otherwise, our debate topics for the actual projects are going to require research, and they're going to be about serious stuff that's actually happening in American society today. So, fun times. We will probably not do an immigration topic unless you all like, hey, Mr. Pike, we've got to do immigration. All right, but I try to add variety here, and at least for my own sanity, that we're not having topics from past semesters. Okay, ranting about that aside, we have a course rationale, and that basically, I mean, you can read this here, but uh, the course rationale is that every profession that you can get into requires debate skills. It requires persuasive speaking skills, and requires the ability to string together informative argumentation. Um, if you're an education major, English ed majors have to take this course. So if you're an English ed major, there will be a time in your career where maybe you have to select textbooks, and you are of the opinion that a certain textbook is better than another one, and you are shocked to find that one of your colleagues does not agree with that assessment. So in order to select the textbook that you want, you will have to persuade them and or other people that maybe are on the fence about which book is better, why your book is the best choice. And this class is going to give you the skills in order to do that and the confidence to be able to do that. Because a lot of people, when they, it might be just a Midwestern thing, but we like to be nice. We don't want to stir the pot. So when it occurs to us maybe that someone, especially if they're older or have more experience, disagrees with us, we tend to just kind of let that go. And really, probably you should at least push back a little bit in a professional, courteous, and structured way. And this course is about giving you that professional, courteous way of arguing with somebody. That's really the basics of the course. If you're a comm major, again, you'll use these skills because you are open to a lot of career paths that will require good persuasive speaking skills. If you're going to be a consultant, you're going to have to put together like a plan, a policy plan about how to help an organization fix itself. Um, if you're doing any kind of public representation in terms of if you're going to be a gosh darn it a PR person, you're going to have to probably have some persuasive content in your press releases, in the interviews that you'll give for your organization on TV and so forth. So you have to know these skills in order to have a really well-rounded professional tool repertoire of how to deal with the public. Okay, so some course content, the kind of stuff that we'll talk about. We'll talk about what constitutes an argument. We know, again, the Toolman model, but we'll also talk about how you can tell if an argument is cogent or not, in other words, if it makes sense or not. We'll talk about how you create, refute, and present your arguments. Every type of debate that we'll talk about kind of has a certain structure that is optimum for that form of debate. And we're going to talk about that as well. So that's how you kind of know how to present your arguments. And of course, critical thinking and problem solving skills, decision making, and all that jazz. I think I already talked about that a little bit with the policy plans and stuff like that. One thing I do want to talk about though is that debate is not really it is an adversarial process. It does not have to be hostile. Okay, you don't have to hate each other. Um, and it's actually mostly about decision making. It's not about the debate or even the argument. It's about getting the best decision possible. Um, and related to that, you want to do your job well. You want to do it passionately, but you also need to accept whatever that decision is. An analogy I usually use for this when I'm in person is, I guess I can use it now, is like in a courtroom, and you have a lawyer who's defending a client, and maybe they're not really convinced that the client is innocent, but nonetheless, if we want that conviction to stand, or we want that conviction to be accepted by the populace, you need to make sure that the person defending that defendant is absolutely that defense is very thorough, very skeptical of the prosecution, and very energetic, right? Regardless of how the lawyer feels about their client, because when the verdict comes back that he or she is guilty, people will say, well, it must be the right decision because the defense was pretty strong, so therefore this decision is probably the best one. Similarly, with any of these topics, you'll see that there'll be a phenomenon that occurs where people will say what a close debate it was, and then we actually have the class vote, and maybe the decision actually is very lopsided. Maybe out of the 20 students, 18 will vote one way, and the other two will vote the other way, and that's normal. All right, that's normal. A good debate actually is kind of lopsided like that, because that means that the decisions was hopefully the decision was that both sides were passionate and well researched and prepared, and but there was one side that had maybe something um, structural over the other or something like that. And we'll talk more about that as we go along, but I just wanted to throw that out there. We're about making decisions in here. We're not about having our own way or just being hostile for hostility's sake. We're about using debate as a decision making. Which textbook is better, which soda is better, which what's the correct direction for the country to head in, that kind of thing. It's not really about having your way. Okay, oral presentation. So here are the student assignments. I'm not sure why this wasn't enumerated here, but there are some written assignments. This may include written arguments, editorials, debate cases, or other written material. Mostly written arguments and debate cases is what that is. Um, so I will look at least for the first couple cases that you write. I will look at your arguments and your debate case before you debate. As the semester goes on, I am more than happy to look at your written stuff before we debate and give you feedback. But at that point, I trust you. And we're going to be moving on to more advanced analysis where we don't have to be so caught up on the details of your written argument so much. Speaking of which, moving on from the written part of it, we'll have oral presentations. And this is actually where most of the points of the class are located. Your debates are the thing that I evaluate in a debate course, in which the format will be two students of two, or two teams. Wow, two teams of two students will advance an argument and then refute their opponent's argumentation. Topics for debate will be decided by you, the students, from a short list of 3 to 4 topics that I have already selected. Again, I pick either timeless or timely topics for us to talk about. Not usually very silly. And by usually, I mean I don't think we've had a formal debate topic that's actually been like Coke versus Pepsi. Not while I've been teaching it. So it's usually a pretty serious topic, a controversial topic. That way, there's plenty of research on both sides that we can have. It'll still be fun, but it's going to be serious. Argumentation days, my little play on words there. There are going to be days where you are supposed to be working on argumentation with your partner. I know that life as a college student is very busy, and as a result, I know that this time on Tuesdays and Thursdays is the time that you have set aside for this course. And I don't really expect for you to meet your partner for any real significant period of time outside of class. So that means I've built into the schedule time for us to work as a group. Now, sometimes students will look at that somewhat unstructured time and be like, oh, good, I can, go get a pumpkin spice latte and show up to class 20 minutes late. And unfortunately, that really causes a problem for your partner, who is then sitting there either for part of the class period or even the whole class period with very little direction on how to proceed, because both of you need to be in agreement about what your case is and what evidence you're going to use and so on. And while I will say that if a partner is missing, I'll say, okay, they're gone. They've forfeited all their decision-making ability. You're just going to have to soldier on the project on that particular day. The reality is that I know once your partner gets back in contact with you, they're going to want different things than what you prepared in class. And that's just very inefficient and aggravating for everybody. So on argumentation days, those are the special days where I take super attendance points. And I'll show you how that works here when we get down to the grade breakdown. But basically, you really, really, really need to be there on the days where we are turning in arguments or when you're working with your partner, because I'm going to collect the things that you work on with your partner on those days. In the past, I haven't really done that, and this semester I'm really going to go hard on that because it was the quality of the debates weren't bad last year necessarily, but I noticed that a lot of people were kind of taking advantage of my attendance policy down here, and they weren't really still showing up to days where they needed to work with their partner. So we're going to actually collect written work on argumentation days, and if you're not there to turn it in with your partner, I'm not going to give you credit. That's how it works. So there. Attendance. Learning does not happen unless you are here. I love reading that aloud because it is so true. Students who come to class all the time, even on days where we have those unstructured, let's work on arguments type days, they do so much better in their debate than someone who's like only attending, 3 out of the 4 class sessions before the debate starts. It's just so much better for you to be here. And like I kind of ranted before, I know that your schedules are busy, so I've really planned this course out that you don't have to do a heck of a lot of homework outside of class. I might ask you to say, read something or maybe watch a video. Sometimes some of the debate topics I have are topics covered on like last week tonight. So I might actually assign you, give you a YouTube link and assign you to watch a last week tonight video on the topic. And hoping that's funny and informative, of course. But if it occurs to me that you're not doing that, well, hold on. I'll get to that in a moment. But anyway, that's the kind of work I'll have you do outside of class. So in class is all the intense stuff. So you really need to be here. If you are not here, you really cannot make up a lot of this work. Like you can't make up the 20 minutes you were out getting that pumpkin spice latte and your partner was working. You really can't make up, you and partner being gone and losing that day of work. Like you can't really make that up. So points associated with it, I'm not going to let you make up either. Unless you have, of course, unless you have a university excuse, which would be something like a contagious illness, injury, bereavement, which one of your family members died, military service obligation, or some kind of official university authorized travel. And we have a lot of people that are involved in extracurriculars, which is awesome, and I fully support that. Which is why, if you give me a field trip form, um, we won't worry about your attendance points being deducted or anything, and we'll try to make arrangements with your partner and make sure that you're debating on a day where you're not going to be gone, and making sure that you're able to get a fair amount of work done before or after you leave for that field trip. Or whatever. Like I said, I coach an extracurricular activity myself. I know how important it is uh, for you to be gone doing that activity. Um, I encourage that. So yeah. In any case, bottom line: do not miss class unless you fit into one of these areas. All right. If you have one of these things that are wrong, then just don't worry about it. But if you're just going to get a pumpkin spice latte, that is not. Then you're going to be subject to this policy. You have to work with a partner for this course. If your partner is absent on a debate day, you will have to debate solo. Your extra, yep, see, there I go with the typos. Your extra effort will factor into your grade, and your partner's negligence will be reflected in their grade as well. A volunteer may also come forward to assist you with your permission. I've had a lot of students say, I don't feel comfortable doing this alone. I will still try to make you, I will still, when I say try, I will still require you to debate on the day that you had signed up for. But you can, recruit someone from the course to help you, and they will be likely to want to take you up on that offer because if you debate more than once, either as an individual or a pair, I will give you an A for that project, that particular debate project. Not necessarily the whole course, just the whole project. Um, and so that's if you help people out, if you're good students, in my opinion, are the ones that are doing work with their partners. They're asking good questions. They're getting the class. They show up on days where we're getting class material. They're turning in their argumentation days work, and they're helping me out manage helping me manage the scheduling for the debate by being good and volunteering to help out their classmates. I want to reward that behavior as much as possible. Where was I going with that? Okay, anyway, if you fail to debate on your assigned day, you receive a 0 F for the project. Oh, there's where I was going, the next one. If a whole team is absent on a debate day, I have the right to appoint another group to go in place of the absent team. Again, that would require you technically to go twice for that project. Again, I will give you an A if you go twice. I figure you learn so much going through 2 debates that um, usually it's going to be an A. You would receive an A group for one of those debates. Um, anyway, so whatever. If you fail to debate on your assigned day, you receive a 0 out of F for the project. Again, if you're a victim of the flu or you get into an accident or something, um, don't worry about that. Those are excused with documentation. Okay, we'll do what we have to do. We'll give you some kind of we'll just make arrangements. All right. But generally, again, just especially on the days where you're debating, don't be absent. Don't be absent unless you fit into one of these categories. If you're gone without an excuse, I will thank you for that project. It's just so important that we have the debates go on the days they are scheduled, and it's so important for your partner and your opponents that we're there to debate them so that we can see their hard work. It's so important. Um, Finally, the instructor may also include a miscellaneous category of evaluation, up to 10% of the planned class grade, which I believe is 50 points. Yep. Which may include quizzes, homework, or other participation, public debate, competition debate, or other assignments depending on his assessment of student progress and the need for more intense evaluation. And this is my pop quiz and or pop writing assignment clause. So, like I said, I'll give you some short things to read. I might also give you a video to watch, or something like a podcast to listen to. Um, and so, if it occurs to me as we discuss the content of said experience, and it becomes apparent that you have not, um, well, read or listened to whatever I assigned you, I have the right to start asking you questions about that thing for right and wrong in a pop quiz. So just throwing that out there. I have rarely, if ever, had pop quizzes, usually because I like to think that when I choose those things to read and or show you for like the YouTubes and stuff, for it's usually somewhat pretty entertaining and or you're just interested in the topic in general and people just kind of do it. But if you don't, as a group, well, pop quiz coming. Otherwise, here is the point breakdown. Crossfire Debate 1, for example, is worth 60 points. I have rubric ratings times 5. We'll go over a rubric here and when we get closer to it, the debate. But a couple points here is that it's usually out of 4 areas. There's usually like 4 areas, and I get like 12 points. So I take your uh, ratings and I multiply them by 5 just to give you a decent amount of points. Um, So that's what this is here. The policy debate case is kind of special. It has its own rubric that we share with the Teachers College because it's a item for decision point 2, so there's no multiple on that rubric. But you see that anytime we have a rubric, you can easily get, I mean, the rubrics are pretty self-explanatory anyway, but anytime we have a rubric, you take I say, wow, you did great, 5 out of 5. Well, that 5 out of 5 is 25 points, for example. Okay. Um, so we have 1, 3, and 4 debates. Okay, um, so that means we'll be averaging a debate about once a month. Um, this panel debate is kind of like a decompression type exercise. It's still worth 40 points, but it's not intense. Your final debate here, this crossfire debate at 120 points, is your capstone type project. It's the one that you get the most points for. Um, we actually have an inter-classroom debate tournament for that debate, in which you can compete against all of the other teams. By teams, I mean the other pairs of students in my other courses and my boss's class, for for glory. And if you participate in that, I will give you a minimal grade of B plus for these 120 points. In other words, you'll walk away. You participate in that experience, it'll be, you can walk away with a lion's share of these 120 points. And if you do something meritorious during that competition, like win a debate round, get good comments on your judging ballots, I'll give you all 120 points. Now, the reason why I would be so generous is kind of like up here, where I think if you debate a bunch or debate twice, you will probably just naturally get an A anyway. Um, Similarly, here with the final debate, if you will end up debating a topic on both sides of the resolution for a total of 4 times over the course of a Saturday, that's a lot of debate. So I have no problem giving you, basically all 120 points for doing that experience. You'll learn way more doing that than you will do it than debating the one side in class for 45 minutes. So we'll talk more about that later. I'm sure you'll have some questions about the final debate and any kind of turn. But that's kind of it's the highest number of points, the most the biggest rubric, and but you can still kind of skip out of there with it'll be an intense experience, but it'll hopefully be a fun one. Anyway, panel debate. What are we doing? Okay, so here are the argumentation days that I was ranting about earlier. Um, if every time we have an argumentation days on the schedule, I will have you say, or I will say something like, "Okay, I would like 3 arguments today," and then basically it is completion. You turn it, you upload your 3 arguments to Blackboard, and I'll give you 5 points for a complete argument. Especially, again, it is completion. I can give you feedback on your arguments, or I would love to, but we'll be doing that in class as well. Always ask me in class, but I just kind of look at your arguments. If it's complete, I give you the 5 points per argument for a total of 15 points on our first argumentation day. Now that's going to be required attendance day as well, right? So you have 100 points of attendance, and you lose 5 points every unexcused absence. So when you look at that argumentation days on the calendar, and you're thinking, oh, I'm just working with my partner, there's nothing really he's going to lecture about, I'm just going to skip it. Well, actually, you're skipping out 20 points here. And maybe that doesn't sound like a lot because you're starting at like a theoretical 500 point cap. But if you keep doing that, man, you're going to lose like 300 points, and that you're not going to end up passing the class. So please, don't do that. um, will not get a good grade for the class. And every time you're absent for an argumentation day as well, there's actual thinking and work that goes on, all of which will probably be reflected in a subpar debate experience as well, right? So it's you're just not just missing these 20 points. You're also going to be missing, qualitative points up here where I think, oh man, that thesis doesn't make any sense. I really wish you and your partner had checked it. And then I'll start, you start losing for 60 points up here too. You don't want to do that. So please, show up to class every day, super especially on days where you're working with your partner, and super duper especially on days where you're debating. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, academic dishonesty policy. Um, it's very difficult to plagiarize in this class. The evidence that I want you to use are direct quotes, and we use spoken word citations, which means you're basically only telling us if the author, the publication, and the date. In fact, that's all it is. It's not anything complicated like APA or MLA citations. So I want you to find some article and copy and paste a whole paragraph into your case, into your document, and just tell us who wrote it and when they wrote it and where it appeared, and you're good. So there's really no reason to plagiarize here. The only thing I can envision where I would activate our university academic dishonesty policy would be if you, one, made up evidence, made up things that did not exist, or two, if you literally stole someone's stuff. Like, I will allow you to work with another pair. I will even allow you to work with another student or students from like another section of mine. I really don't care. I mean, I guess you can let me know, but debates are those kinds of things where it does better the more eyes you have checking on it. So if you want to work with a group of 4, two pairs of students want to work together on the same side of the resolution, go for it. I would really prefer that we have some really good cases that have been through the ringer before the debate starts by having so many people look at it. It's great. So unless you literally steal something or unless you make stuff up, I really don't envision myself activating this policy. It's not one of those courses where you're writing like an original short story and I have to make sure it's original. Like I would rather you quote experts, and I would rather you have that than really anything else, quite frankly. No paraphrasing. In fact, that's going to be a rule. No paraphrasing. Um, not that. Okay. Let's see. There's boilerplate there. You can read that on your own time. Again, sealing your portfolios. I know they're not called portfolios anymore. Y'all just changed that vocab on me before I could get my syllabus changed. But in the pile of work that you need to show to somebody in order to graduate, if you're a comm studies major, this course will be one of those things that you should include in that. Now, English education portfolios, you will need a debate case assignment from this class. The affirmative debate case assignment, which I guess I've named policy debate case assignment up here. I'll edit that. Anyway, this assignment and this thing are the same deal, and it is your artifact for decision point 2. It has its own rubric, and it's identical to the one on TK20. That's why this has no rating multiple here. Straight up out of, is it 50 points? Yep. So if you get like 50 out of 50 on that, then you get a superior or whatever it's called, a distinguished on the rubric. So that's how that's going to work. And again, we could talk about TK20 stuff at a time later. I finally did figure it out. If you had one of my previous students that complained that, oh man, those 2 debate instructors, they don't know what the heck they're doing. They're still on our grade. We actually went to like a seminar this summer and learned ourselves something new. So I actually know what to do there. Anyway, esoteric email policy. This subject generates a lot of good questions from students, and I really like that. And I prefer to interact with you as much as possible, both in class and over email and stuff like that. However, I also prefer that you can contact me over email as a way to set up a face-to-face meeting. Or usually for a lot of questions. I've noticed that a lot of times people will ask me things like, my partner and I just don't know where to begin. I'm like, okay, that is something that we should resolve, but that's not really something that is good for an email type exchange, because there's there's infinite directions on which we could approach something, and as soon as we start writing down one of those things, it seems like we get so invested in whatever idea we just start with, that it might be troublesome. So it's usually something that's better to hash out face to face. Furthermore, emails can take, even if we're both sitting at our respective computers going back and forth, it takes a lot longer to figure out and have a conversation. So if you have a very general concern like this, like you just don't know where to begin, I will probably just reply back with, hey, please set up a time with me to discuss and brainstorm topics. It'll take us 20 minutes. We'll be in and out of there, and you'll have a great direction on where to go. Now, here's a good email example would be, student, does this like a good introduction? And then you actually include the introduction that you've already written. And then I will reply with actual feedback, right? Those are, very different types of emails there. If I have something to base my reply on, I will definitely just give you the feedback you're probably looking for. But if you give me something pretty general, like, I can't find something that says this, or I'm having a hard time just understanding this whole thing. And when I say this whole thing, it'd be like, I've had people say, policy debate's really confusing. Just how do I do it? That would be something that I would like to meet with you face to face or over Skype on, so that we have a live back and forth. Technology policy. You are allowed and even required to bring high technology to this classroom. We will be doing research in here. Sometimes there will be questions. I know it's shocking, but I am not, say, an expert on immigration policy. I just kind of do debate stuff. And you might ask a question about immigration policy that I don't know the answer to. And usually my response to that would be, well, let's all look it up. And so I would expect us to, whip out our laptop computers, our iPads, our various tablet devices, what have you, and try to search for that answer so that we as a group can know the answer to what is probably a very good question. Furthermore, with those argumentation days, it's really helpful to have a Google Doc as opposed to a handwritten. You can definitely go old school and write out your cases by hand if you want. But I would say that since you want to share it with your partner, Google Docs are just fantastic for that purpose. So, please, if you have access to it, bring it in. I know most programs at Ball State require you to have some kind of laptop or similar device. Similarly, if you have any kind of special needs that require accommodation, please let me know as soon as possible. I've already gotten a few notices to that degree, but if that seems like that's you, please do let me know. I am very accommodating. So yeah, I will definitely make sure that we do everything we can. I know, just throwing this out there, I know that a couple people have require extra time on quizzes If we do have a pop quiz, and again, that's a big if we have a pop quiz, I will accommodate you with that as well. Um, don't really worry about that. But anything else I can help you with as well, please let me know. And of course, Writing and Learning Center. In theory, Writing Center slash Learning Center is supposed to hire people who have successfully passed this course, which means that you can get some kind of peer help at the Writing and Learning Center. So that's a resource available as well. I say in theory because I had one very disgruntled student that um, signed up for a learning center experience, and this was a couple years ago now. All the people that this is about are gone, but I had a very disgruntled student that said that, yeah, this person passed the course, but had such a different instructor that their advice was not very useful. I actually ended up, I was that was the first year I was hired to do this. So, in any case, I'm sure that you will have excellent support there in general. So, all right. Well, I see that people are watching, but I don't see anything in chat. So that's basically all I have to say. Um, in a real class session, face-to-face class session, we would be getting out of here at what, 1:45? Yeah. Next time on Thursday, we'll kind of go over the first month schedule, and we'll also talk about some actual course content. But today, I feel like this was just enough. So I want to thank you all for humoring me on this unconventional class meeting, and I look forward to meeting you all on Thursday face-to-face. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email me. I've been responding, um, usually within about an hour or two of emails. So you have it. Again, thanks so much for your attention and humoring me on this weird thing that we're doing to start off the semester. I appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.